Welcome to the inaugural edition of Track 'em Tigers, your weekly look at Auburn football. Each week we'll break down the happenings of the past Saturday and look ahead to the next game. Before we get started, though, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Extreme Power Sports. If you're looking for a motorcycle, ATV, jet ski, anything like that, go see our friends over at Extreme Power Sports. Awesome people. Jason Dyer and his team, they'll hook you up. Our family has been using them for years. Best of all, Jason's an Auburn person like us. So, hey, let's keep our money in the family. How about that? All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm excited about our first guest this week. I was thinking, who can I bring on that really can talk Auburn football, give you something to get out, give you something that you'll get out of it, something I'll get out of it, and I couldn't think of anybody better than former Central coach Ron Nelson. Football coach for 12 seasons at Central, a baseball coach for 24 years. Welcome in, Coach Nelson. Coach,
Hey Jay,
how are you?
great, my man. How you doing?
Welcome,
War Eagle.
War Eagle. Appreciate you coming in with us. Have a seat.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to see you. It's
Been a while.
Been a long time. You know, I was thinking this morning when I woke up. You were my gym coach when I was 17 years old. I turned 50 in April. That means you got to be middle age.
Oh no, I just turned a young 61.
A young 61. Well, how you been?
Great.
Yeah.
And just still at the high school, still a social athletic director, still do a little bit of driver's ed. Trying to help the athletes out in clearinghouse and that, and coaching my grandson. He's growing up. He's 9-year-old now, so just they keeping me busy.
Good. Yeah, looking at you as your head coach, football team for 12 seasons, 18 years an assistant under Coach Trawick, state championships, all kinds of success, 514 wins as the baseball coach, got your name on the stadium. Only thing I got my name on is my mailbox.
I've been very fortunate enough to be in the situation I've been in, and working for Coach Trawick and being offensive coordinator at Central High School was the best time of my life, and then also at that time coaching baseball, and just didn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough after he retired, I became the head football coach for 12, and after 30 years, that was enough.
Yeah. Well, hey, 30 years is a long time. Still got stories to tell. Still making stories.
Yes, sir.
You know, being an Auburn show, you coached some Auburn greats yourself while you were at Central. Two names that come to my mind: James Joseph and Ed King.
Yes, James, when I first came to Phoenix City at 1980, I was at South Girard, when basically we had just, 8th and 9th graders. He was a 7th grader, and he was special. So they allowed, since they was in the same school system, James actually started as a 7th grader.
Wow.
And then, Ed King came, when Ed came through, I was already at the high school, and we knew right away he was going to be something special. Somebody that big with that good a feet, you knew the potential was just going to be unlimited. And they both went to Auburn, had great careers, and we fortunate enough to have a lot of good kids that went to Alabama, to Troy, just all over.
Yeah. When you get talent like that, and you say you knew from the start that those were two special ones, how do you coach them differently?
You don't. My philosophy in coaching is if I could take an average player and make him good, and make him a good player, make him very good, and then them great ones, don't mess with them because they're great. And you don't have to do anything. You just make sure that you keep a handle on them to where they are focused on what their goals are, and they'll take care of themselves.
Any memories stand out of the play of those two while they were at Central?
Oh, me, I think one memory would be we played Hardaway High School, and we hadn't played Hardaway in a long time, and they were very successful in Columbus, and we were very successful. And then we finally got to play, and there was a lot of jawing going back and forth. Thank God there wasn't no social media like it is today, because it really would have got out of hand. But and we played them that night, and we beat them. And James Joseph, he broke out and scored on about a 70-yard run. And it was right before halftime. And he gets down about the 5-yard line, and he starts showboating. And just kind of didn't go in the end zone. He just ran across the field, holding the ball out. Oh, my Lord, we were so we were so mad at him. And when he got to the sideline, Coach Trawick and me, we both grabbed him, and he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Coach, I'm just trying to run the clock out. It's about halftime." So he wasn't trying to do that, but he was smart enough to say that where he wouldn't get in trouble. Ed King. Ed was, in them days we were in the wing tee, and then we did a lot of pulling, what we call the buck sweep in that days. And one time we was playing Dothan High School, and Ed King pulled, and a little cornerback was there, and that little cornerback was going to be a man and take Ed on, and Ed hit him, and Lord Almighty. And when Ed got up, he bent over and looked at the guy, and he told the sideline to come get him. And so I'll never forget those two things about those two youngsters.
Yeah, special.
Very special. It's good to see. I mean, I just saw Ed this summer. He's doing really good living in Atlanta. Talked to James. He's living in Montgomery, and they're both doing very well.
That's good. Good to hear. Let's talk about now.
Okay.
Auburn 21, Washington 16. Initial thoughts.
A great win. It wasn't the prettiest win in the world. It was a situation. Washington's got a very good football team. Is it good as maybe the Alabamas and the Georgias? Probably not. But they're gonna be a factor in the Pac-12. I thought offensively, the game should have been over at halftime. I thought we had 4 times we should have got down there, possibly 5, and we just couldn't get but one touchdown. Defensively, besides the last minute and 23 seconds of the first half, you couldn't ask for any better.
Yeah.
And sometimes they got down in the red zone, but Auburn held them. So I thought it was a great team win. Like I said, there's things that they can grow on and get better, but I think that's what the first game's for.
Yeah. As a coach, looking at that game, what's your biggest concern coming out of it?
Offensively, the red zone. You got to score when you get in the red zone. That plagued us last year. People don't realize that it's hard in the red zone because when you get inside the 20, the field narrows on you, so it's only so many things that, as far as route running, you can do. Washington did a good job of disguising their coverages and dropping back 8. And a lot of people say, why does Stidham hold the ball so long?
Yeah.
Well, he don't want to throw an interception. And if it's not there, then you just don't want to force anything. So, but I think like Coach Malzahn said, I know the emphasis is going to be on running the football inside the red zone. Defensively, man coverage.
Yeah.
We got a lot of penalties. I think in the SEC, probably some of them penalties wouldn't have been called because it's more of a physical conference than what the Pac-12 or the Big Ten officiating crew had. And we got to work on our 2-minute defense as far as at the end of the half.
Yeah.
That happened a couple times last year, and I don't think so much that it was the 2-minute being in prevent defense. I think it was just a situation. Washington made 2 great receptions.
Yes, they did.
And that was just great plays on their part.
Yeah, I know Kevin Steele said earlier this week that on those 2 touchdowns, that really his DBs were in place. There wasn't a whole lot, they were not out of place. They just made catches that.
When you got a receiver that can make a one-handed catch and a quarterback throws it to the back shoulder, clap your hands, shake it. Great job.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to dive more into the offense, talk a little bit more about defense, finish breaking down Washington, and look ahead to Alabama State this week.
Hey folks, I'm Bear O'Brien, and over the last 40 years I've been able to share my mornings with you on radio, and I've also been able to share my inspirational message every morning. It's a chance for me to share my faith with you. Now we're bringing it to TV thanks to CTV Beam. You can catch us every Monday through Friday morning at 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., the inspiration of the morning. I'm so glad to share it with you. So please be watching every Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. I love you. God bless you.
And welcome back. Coach, during the offseason, all we heard was the talk around Auburn was, can this offensive line live up to what we saw at the end of last year? Give us your thoughts on Saturday. For me, looking at it as not being a coach, but looking at it as a fan, it seemed like despite having a lot of new guys up front, they were way ahead of last year's unit when you compare them to how they looked against Clemson a year ago.
Yes, I mean, we got a lot of working pieces right now with the offensive line. The center that we thought was going to start, Nick Minus, he got hurt, so he wasn't there. But I thought the King kid did a really good job. They're going to have to jail. I thought the difference in that and last year, I thought we pass blocked a lot better this year. Our run block was probably not as good, but it's early in the year. One thing that Auburn loves is the inside zone, and they have to all work together to make sure they know, when one rubs off and got to go up to the linebacker. And that takes time, and I think they will get better at that as the season goes along.
Yeah. Being an offensive coach, what kind of problems does Gus Malzahn's offense pose for an opposing defense? Now, Washington had 9 months to get ready, but what does it look like going forward? We got Alabama State this week. Hopefully that's not a problem. And then we're looking at LSU in 2 weeks.
A lot of people talk about there's so many bells and whistles, and you hear that with commentators on TV. It's really not. It goes back to, yes, he's going to different you, he's going to motion you, and when you motion people, you're going to find out what coverage they're in, because you're going to start out in your base coverage and you're going to disguise it, but once you motion, you force the defense to react, and when they react, then you offer, you know what kind of coverage they're trying to do. He's going to run a lot of motions and fakes. He runs a lot of misdirections. The reason I like watching him so much is I'm an old wing T guy. He runs a lot of wing T plays, even though it's out of the shotgun. But the biggest thing is with his offense is he can adjust. And Nick Marshall was not. This is not the same offense that Jarrett Stidham were, because Jarrett throws the football. So I think the offense can adapt to both types of quarterback. It's just a matter of what he's got.
Yeah. Talk about what they call the eye candy that Malzahn puts out there. What kind of problems does that cause for a defense? They got so many players in motion, moving around. How do you stay true to your formations on defense? Stay in your lanes. What kind of problems does that cause?
It is hard because they're forcing you. They're forcing your hand when they do that. You can see very quickly with the motion aspect where not so much the front seven is going to change, but the secondary is going to change, and that's what you want to see. A lot of times, if the secondary is not rotating, you'll actually see what they call the jet sweep. They'll give it to the guy coming back through. But if they're rolling that way, then you're going to see some bubble screens the opposite way. There's so many variables that you can do, and all you're doing is just motioning. Yeah. Either your H back or one of your wideouts. So it's like I said, it's not that complicated once you study it, but it is for a defense because it dictates for them to show you what they're doing.
Jarrett Stidham, 26-36, 273 yards, touchdown, no interceptions. Clearly, in the last year, he had shoulder problems. We didn't know about it until later. He wasn't the same quarterback against Georgia and Central Florida. Looked entirely different Saturday.
And yes, I mean Jarrett. We'll be thankful to have him for another year, because I really believe if he has a capable year that he has this year, I think he'll come out in the draft, and I think he'll be one of the top NFL quarterbacks drafted because he has that NFL arm. We better enjoy it. We better take advantage of it. Yes, Auburn, they're gonna run the football, but you're not gonna have an arm like Jarrett Stidham, so you better take advantage of it while you got it.
He got a lot of criticism last year for not getting rid of the ball. He seemed to do that better Saturday.
He did. There were still a couple of times, but there again, Washington, going back and I watched the game again Sunday and went back, they run so many different coverages. And then I think Jarrett read it and then just didn't want to force it in that, in that tight spot to try to create a turnover. Whereas in last year when he held the ball, I thought we had receivers running open, but he couldn't find them. I think now he's seeing the football, but the biggest thing is he don't want to put Auburn in a bad situation.
How good was that defense Auburn faced? Would you say, looking at them on?
I really think it's going to be one of the top defenses that was in the Southeastern Conference. Of course, I don't think it'd be probably good as the top 2 or 3, but after that, I think it'd be just as good as anybody's.
Yeah.
Their front three were very athletic. To be as big as they were, that nose guard really caused a lot of problems for us.
Yeah.
Their secondary was just going to be just as good as anybody we see.
Yeah.
And so hopefully after the first game and seeing that it'd have been for Auburn.
Cam Martin, Booby Whitlow, love saying that name, Booby Whitlow. A little over 100 yards between the two of them. Are they going to be able to get it done as a unit?
I think so. You know, we've been spoiled in the past with the big backs. We don't have a Kerryon Johnson or Cameron Petway or backs that we've had in the past, Trey Mason. But I think that you'll see Auburn, they mostly ran the inside zone. I think with those two backs as being as quick as they are, that you're going to see more buck sweep or outside zone. And because that, to me, I think that would be their forte, is running and getting to the edge. But I think, you know, Cam, his body is not as big. But you know, you don't want him running the ball 20, 25 times inside like that, because I don't know if his body can handle that all season long. Booby, I was fortunate enough to get to see him in high school, to play for Lafayette. And you're talking about an athlete. When Auburn signed him, they didn't really sign him as a position player. They signed him as an athlete. He had played quarterback at Lafayette and also had played safety, so they didn't know they were going to play him at defensive back. They started him off at wide receiver. Got a couple of running backs got hurt. They moved him back for scout team purposes, and they could not stop him. And so they knew right there, hey, we're going to leave him at running back. So I'm expecting big things from both of them. I don't think neither one of them can carry the load by themselves, but nowadays I don't think you can do that.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have 2 to 3 running backs.
Yeah. Throwing the ball. Receiving, Ryan Davis, 7 catches, 52 yards. Not a lot of yards from anybody, but they spread it out.
They did, and like I said, there was no one particular receiver that Jarrett was looking at. I thought the kid made a great, I forget his name right off top, but Cal, the long and one touch, the touchdown. I thought he made a great catch. The thing that impressed me, the freshman that came, I think the Williams kid came on, and he had 2 big catches.
Yeah.
You know, of course, Ryan's going to be stable. Slayton's going to be there. So, I mean, I like it when you've got 4 or 5 receivers and you just don't have one that you have to go to.
Yeah.
Because they can't key on that one person.
Yeah. And read this week, Eli Stove, Will Hastings back at practice. Not contact yet, but back on the field.
Well, we don't have to rush them back. I mean, you talking about to be released this quick with a knee injury in the spring, that just tells you how far medical procedures have gone now this quickly. But if we can get them back by midseason, that's 2 game breakers. Yeah. And that'll really help us as far as having them in and moving Ryan around a lot more. And it can only be a plus for us.
Yeah, yeah. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to look at the defensive side of the ball, and then we're going to preview Alabama State this weekend.
Hello, my name is Joshua Harp with CTV Beam, and in this instructional video, I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot your source or video input with your TV and remote. So sometimes, even though your TV is properly hooked up, you may not see live channels. This may be because you've switched the input or source of your video feed by accident. With this HD or DVR box remote, the video input is located on the top left. As you can see, there are a number of options, and so you might have accidentally changed the video input source. In most cases, your cable box is hooked up through an HDMI cable. What you can do is you can check your video input or source and find the HDMI setting. You can scroll down through the rest of them just in case you've hooked up a different way. For the HD or DVR remote, the button is located at the top left. To change inputs, you simply hold down and then keep clicking until you find the input you want. In this case, we are hooked up via HDMI cable. So we went to the HDMI source and found our channel.
Coach, we've talked a lot about the offense. Let's look on the other side of the ball. Talk about the job Kevin Steele has done, not only end of last year, but also getting his team ready to play against Jake Browning in that.
I think Coach Steele's done a fantastic job, because I think to the point where he's keeping it simple enough where the kids can react and play and have fun. I would put, I mean, there's a lot of great front sevens in the country. I'd put Auburn right up there with the best of them. I thought they really played that good. The front 4, there's some men up there. And it's not only just 4, they have a rotation where there's 8 to 9 to 10 that Coach Garner's playing a lot of. Linebackers, Williams and Deshaun Davis. And I wouldn't trade them for anybody. When Deshaun hits you, you're not going anywhere. You're going to stop right there. And that's his mentality. So the front seven is good. The secondary, we lost a lot of good players last year. But I think there's some good young players there if they keep working hard. I thought Darius Thomas played really good as a nickelback and did a really good job. And, you know, I can't pronounce his name, but the wide receiver that they moved to cornerback, Noah. And
Noah in
I can't pronounce that last name. I'm not going to try.
Yeah.
But I thought the transition he made was fantastic to be that young and be thrown out on the island. And one thing people's got to realize, Coach Steele is going to play a lot of man coverage. That's what he believes in. He believes in because when you're in man coverage, the pressure, the quarterback's only going to have so much time to throw the football. So he's banking on that you're not going to have enough time to throw anything deep-wise. Now, we did get hurt on the fade routes. We did get hurt on a couple of crossing routes, which you're going to get hurt in man coverage if you're in that. But the pluses are way better than the minuses.
Yeah.
So, but after they threw the fade route for Haas, though, Coach Steele, he wasn't bullheaded. He changed the coverages up, started mixing up and playing a lot of too high, and what they call too high, where that cornerback was not on the island by himself every time. So I think defensively wise, the sky's the limit, and I think that's going to be the strength of Auburn's football.
What makes him so good, Kevin Steele?
I've been knowing Coach Steele for a long time, and he's just a good old down-to-earth person that's genuine, and the kids believe in him. There again, I think when he came in, I know talking to him when he first came back to Auburn, he said, "Hey, this is my last rodeo, and this is where I want to be. This is where I will finish my career, and when it's done, this is where I want to finish up living." And but he's I would say he's more like a coach's player for the coaches. Players love playing for him, and there again. I think other people that before that things was so sophisticated that we couldn't react because we was trying to think too much. So Coach Steele's philosophy is, hey, this is where we're going to be, line up, play, and pin your ears back and come.
Yeah. It was far from flawless on defense, but I mean inside the red zone, it's about as good as it gets, wouldn't you say?
I would. I mean, it said, like I said, when we got inside, they got inside the red zone, I think 6 times. And they only scored right before half the touchdown, and then they had another time when they kicked the field goal, and we kicked a couple field goals, but we stopped them, I think, 4 times. That was awfully big.
Yeah. Now let's look ahead to this week. Alabama State, like you said on the break, let's don't sugarcoat it. They've won 6 of their last 7. They beat Tuskegee in overtime, but in that overtime win, they gave up over 500 yards of offense. As a coach, how do you get your team ready after coming off a big win on a national stage? They're coming back playing a team that they're supposed to beat, supposed to win, but we all, we saw what happened last year coming off the Clemson loss. They went out, struggled against Mercer, had 5 turnovers, didn't really show up. If you're an Auburn coaching staff right now, what are you doing to get these guys ready for Saturday night?
It's just tough to get into a young man's mindset when he knows that, hey, we got better personnel than they do, and that's just a matter of fact. No disrespect to Alabama State, we just got better personnel. But the thing that you want to try to get a pulse, and when you can get this is when you know you got a good team. You're playing yourselves. Okay, you're trying to make yourself better, and if you can make yourself better, you're not playing the opponent. If you start playing the opponent in the scoreboard, that's when you're gonna fail. You got to play yourself to make yourself that you play the best of your ability. And I'm sure it's what the Auburn coaches want this week. I'm like you now. I've been watched Auburn watch a lot of smaller teams come in here and give us trouble. Hopefully that won't happen Sunday, and then we'll be focused, and we're going to need to be because we got a gigantic one coming up 2 weeks from now.
What does Auburn need to accomplish Saturday besides obviously managing the game and winning? What do they need to?
Let's stay healthy. I mean, that's the main thing. I'm sure they're going to play a lot of players. Hopefully Auburn can get a big enough lead at halftime when they can play a lot of players and get them in and get them out, because that's how you develop that more depth. I think that's one thing that we probably needed to exploit and develop in more depth, because those kids are only going to be an injury away from playing. So our biggest thing is offensively coming out and whatever Alabama State gives us, don't be bullheaded, take it. And whether it be running the ball, throwing the ball, whatever, and defensively continue doing what they're doing. And kicking game. I think kicking game can get a little better. Even though I like the way the Carlson kid kicked, I think the biggest thing about him is every kickoff was at least 7 yards deep.
Yeah.
That means so much to a football team when you don't have a return team. They don't have that gun to go to. Yeah. So the biggest thing is just come out and play Auburn football and take care of business.
Yeah. We talked early on about Extreme Power Sports being our sponsor this year, and we thank them for paying the freight for this show, and just a great business over there. They have great products. You coached Jason Dyer, didn't you, in high school?
I did.
Tell us
Jason,
a little bit about Jason.
I appreciate you sponsoring this program. Jason played linebacker for us back in 1993 when we won the state championship. He's one of my favorite players, still is today, and see him and his wife all the time. But Jason was one of those players. He might not have all the ability in the world, even though he had ability, but he worked so hard and studied so hard. You wouldn't go outsmart him as a linebacker. He's going to know his reads and what he had to do. And I'm just glad to see him be successful in life and with his family and his business. And Jason, we appreciate everything you do.
Absolutely. One last question, and we'll wrap things up. What are your thoughts on other teams this week? We saw LSU look mighty good. Tennessee struggled. Alabama, as expected.
Yes, Tennessee, they're going to struggle for a little bit. I just don't think the talent's there. But I know Jeremy Pruitt, and if you give him time, he'll get the talent there.
Think that was the right hire at Tennessee?
I do. I mean, I've been knowing Jeremy because he was a high school coach too. I've been knowing Jeremy for a long time, and you just knew that if he got that opportunity like Kirby was, they're gonna get the job done. Alabama's Alabama. I mean, Saturday night they almost look unbeatable. Georgia's going to be good. LSU's going to be good. Don't count out the two Mississippi schools. And then I think in this week, the game that I'm most interested in is South Carolina, Georgia.
Yeah, big one.
I'm a big Kirby Smart fan. I'm a big Will Muschamp fan, and I'm just going to sit back and enjoy that. And because that's like little brother and big brother playing each other.
Yeah.
So that'll be a good one to watch.
South Carolina have a chance?
Most definitely. Jake Bentley's he's probably one of the top quarterbacks, and I wouldn't trade Stidham for him, but he's a top line quarterback. And
how in the world did he get out of Opelika?
And his dad got a job at South Carolina, so that makes it easy. You're gonna follow your dad.
Yeah. Coach, thank you.
Thank you, Jake.
Enjoyed it. Be sure to tune in next week. We'll be here Thursday at 8:30 p.m. and the Auburn-Alabama State game will be on the SEC Network this Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Have a good weekend. Hello everybody, I'm Jay Coulter and I'll be your host for Track 'em Tigers, a weekly look at your defending SEC Western Division champions. This season I'll be joined by guests from around the community that love Auburn football as much as you do. As usual, there are high expectations on the Plains. We'll look ahead to Saturday and get you ready for a big day of Tiger football. Join me each Thursday at 8:30 p.m. and again on Saturday at 12:30 p.m. right here on CTV Beam as Auburn makes another title run. War Eagle.